In the chaos that was the FBI raid on Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, one of the many questions that hasn't been answered yet, and there are many, is how did the FBI know what to look for? Well, now, thanks to a new bombshell report, apparently there was an informant on the inside, something our next guest correctly predicted would materialize. Please welcome former FBI Special Agent Michael Tabman. Michael, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Michael, you have you had served for 24 years in the FBI, so you know a little bit something about what is going on behind the scenes. You are not at all surprised that there's an informant.
No, I was not surprised. As you mentioned, I thought that because mostly after 24 years of working with informants and affidavits and search warrants, you kind of see the fingerprints on it, sort of like a profile. So the nature of what happened, the rapidity with which the FBI changed direction, the fact that we need this very specific information to know what to look for, where to look for it, and the fact that they took this very extreme measure of getting a search warrant for a former president, knowing the blowback there would be, they had to be pretty confident that they knew what they were looking for. And generally, that kind of specific information that makes you comfortable will come with someone who has firsthand knowledge.
And, you know, my understanding, you can tell me if I'm wrong here because you know better than I do, is that in order to get a search warrant, someone has to physically see some sort of evidence. Is that true? It can't just be hearsay.
Kind of true. You have to be able to present probable cause that evidence is there. So, for example, I worked narcotics most of my years on the street, and we had information, someone being a drug dealer. If we saw suitcases going in a house, we didn't see the drugs were in there, but we were able to put together a series of facts that would give probable cause, not absolute certainty, probable cause that that suitcase contained drugs, or maybe it contained money, or in a different case, some other contraband. So it's the totality of the facts put together that create the probable cause. But certainly somebody seeing something, seeing evidence, if they sent a picture of a document or something like that, that is just makes the probable cause that much stronger.
Also, you know, the informant, as we're learning more, reportedly not just told the FBI what documents they were looking for. Again, we still don't know what those documents were specifically, but also where to find them and even when the best time was to raid the house. Apparently, they were aware of former President Trump's actual schedule, knowing he would be in New York City. With that first point, what kind of documents potentially, I know we don't know for sure, but would make this something that had to happen immediately, and as you said, even if the FBI knew there would be blowback, made it something that they needed to do immediately?
My guess, and I think other people would agree, it was probably documents relating to national security, which would make sense to be in the hands of a former president. And they being the FBI, might have been so concerned that they weren't adequately guarded that very sensitive sources and methods could be revealed if the wrong person was to get their hands on these documents.
And when you mentioned documents related to national security here, just kind of, you know, go with me here. You know, what types of things could those be? Because I understand that a president, before they leave the White House, has the ability to declassify certain information. So are these potentially documents regarding national security that a president couldn't declassify?
Well, the president, the sitting president, has broad authority to declassify, has that authority. There's a process for doing that, and certainly it can't be done retroactively once you leave office. But your question as to the information, this could be highly sensitive information, most likely coming from our intelligence apparatus, CIA, NSA. We don't want to reveal sources and methods, or it could be intelligence given to us by our allies. And we certainly wouldn't want to compromise our relationship with them by letting someone else reveal what they know and how they know it, and what they give to us and what we know. So that's the kind of information most likely in a possession of a president, information from the presidential daily briefing, and gotten into the wrong hands, it could certainly compromise our sources and methods and affect our national security.
The White House is adamantly denying any prior knowledge of the raid, swearing that President Biden was not briefed on it. Earlier in the show, we were joined by Congressman Bob Goode, who had this to say.
Joe Biden, there's no way he didn't know about this. The administration is lying, pretending that they would send out these FBI agents against a former president without alerting the president they were going to do that. Clearly, they're lying about that. Perhaps the president has forgotten, but I'm certain that he was appraised of it and his staff was appraised of it, along with Merrick Garland, of course. We've got to take that action. And again, I fear that we need to start over when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Injustice.
Michael, in your 24 years of FBI experience, do you believe something of this magnitude is something that a sitting president would have been briefed about in advance?
No, I do not think so. You know, first of all, everyone's calling it a raid. I've been on hundreds and hundreds of raids. This was not a raid. This was the execution of a search warrant. And, you know, a raid would indicate, you know, so the drug raids we did, kicking down doors, no knock warrants, handcuffing people. Little different environment here. I believe that President Biden did not know because generally in my law enforcement history, my experience, the president has remained outside of the scope of what the FBI does, all presidents in both parties. And that's because even though they have the authority, the attorney general is appointed by the president, answers to the president. The concept of the president having his finger in domestic police work, while legal, is somewhat, you know, anathema to the way we see our jurisprudence. So generally, presidents have not involved themselves in law enforcement, and I believe that President Biden probably respected that tradition.
Michael Tabman, I very, very much appreciate your giving different points of view also to what we have already been hearing and for correcting us. This was the execution of a search warrant. You're saying the term raid is not correct, and I appreciate that. Again, 24 years served in the FBI, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
JP Morgan's CEO is warning that an economic hurricane is coming. Are you preparing? If you don't do anything, your 401k could be a 201k, and that is not good. So call our trusted friends at Lear Capital. For 25 years, Lear has helped investors own gold to protect against market chaos. It's a good thing. They can help you too. Get your information and up to $15,000 in bonus IRA gold. Just call this number, 800-880-4300. That's 800-880-4300.